Life on Saturn presents nothing. We got nothing. We got nothing. We got nothing. Nope.
Yo, yiggity, yo, what is up? This is the always psychedelic and far out there Catalyst Jost here with you on We Got Nothing Blue version, one of 3 of LOS's wonderful podcasts, and I am here with the man, the myth, the legend from another galaxy that started the whole thing with his beautiful wife by the helm, Mr. Saturn Lunarnova, aka Dominic Monet.
Good morning, social media.
Oh, shit.
This is Life on Saturn's first podcast. The very first. This is We Got Nothing Blue with Daniel Evans Jost, and We Got Nothing Red will be with Ayhan Ozyesil. And what was the third podcast that will be coming out?
The third podcast is where Ayhan and I actually come together.
Okay,
and
so
we do our own thing.
We Got Nothing Red and Blue, which will be a different color? Red and blue together?
I mean, red and blue makes purple, so...
Yeah, We Got Nothing Purple, so... Stay tuned.
Yeah, this just became our last podcast session.
What are, on podcasts, people always talk about what they're drinking. What are you drinking right now?
I am drinking one of your wife's Victory IPAs. Apparently, there's a bunch of different flavors in the box. This one's called No Brainer, and what does this look like? An asparagus leaf or something right here?
That looks like leaves in the shape of a strawberry and an atom. Or a neutron.
A neutron.
That is very weird. And I'm drinking the Heineken,
The last Heineken, by the way.
Last one in my fridge. Sorry, it's mine.
I understand completely, though. Heineken's the best, so.
Fuck, so how you been?
I mean, depends. How far do you want me to go back to actually say I've been doing well? Because I'll give you a hint. It was pre-quarantine.
Right, I feel like pre-quarantine, I was in this depression, and I was starting to feel better, and then quarantine hit, and it was just oh my god, normally I don't slip back into a depression. Usually my depression lasts a couple weeks. I'm just sluggish and avoiding people, and then quarantine happened, and it's depression without wanting the depression, huh?
Right. Honestly, the tagline for 2020 is "No lube was used."
True, very true.
Honest to God, it came out of nowhere, and since then it has not apologized for ravaging everything and whatnot. I think one of the biggest hurdles that has been so hard to jump over since this whole thing began is adjusting to the fact that there is so much restriction on what was normal life. And what I feel is it just completely shocks the membrane that we've entered this kind of setting where we're being told exactly what to do and how long to be at a certain place, who or how you can interact with someone.
Yes.
For good reason, mind you, but at the same time, there are certain points where I do understand how people can misconstrue it as rights being taken away.
Yeah, I mean, stuff's been happening so much. I mean, every week there's 5 new strange things. I mean, you're listening to this pre-election, in case you're listening to this in the future. And as of right now, I mean, there's some weird stuff going on with the post office. That seems to be the only way we can get votes out there. And Trump's trying to make it all seem like a big fucking hoax of some sorts. And
honestly, at the end of the election, there's probably not going to be a future. This is it right here. This is the last remnants of humanity speaking.
Shit is so fucked up that we are avoiding the fact that the Pentagon is going to be releasing UFO files that were disclosed, and they'll be doing it over a period of time, every few months, I think they said. And it's like that's kind of like something we've been waiting for forever.
Well, here's a thing nobody wants to talk about. I've had this idea for a while, pre-quarantine, pre-quarantine, like long ago, that could definitely be a good boost for the economy, especially nowadays, and could actually solve problems with stuff like pedophiles or racists finally getting their just desserts. So for people who are on, like, say, death row or life sentences, I propose let them fight for their freedom, gladiatorial style. Like, take one of the empty. No, I'm serious. Take one of the empty football stadiums we have right now. Like, obviously you can't have a crowd there, but once quarantine has passed, like, then you can start bringing the crowd there, and it will be televised, and it'll be kind of like the Super Bowl almost. Only there, I would say, like.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic gladiator. You're saying that, after the election, let's just fucking do it. Motherfucking Mad Max this shit.
Yeah, no, like Thunderdome, but like times 10. Like, crank it up to 11.
Fuck it, we're done. Society's over with.
Well, it would sell good because, like, people like to watch violence. There's no other way around it, folks. Even if you are a pacifist, even if you prefer peace, love, and free love for everyone, the fact of the matter is, as human beings, as animals, like, man is an animal, we like seeing violence.
Yeah.
And that's just fact. Like, it's in, hell, you even go to little kids' cartoons. There's cartoon violence.
I love it. Except they ruined Tom and Jerry. Modern Tom and Jerry doesn't have, like, the kind of creative violence. For the record, in the future, like, cartoons that are based on violence like Tom and Jerry should not be rebooted softly. Like, just don't do it. Just come up with something else.
I don't want to talk about it because that's an entirely different podcast episode.
But yes, back to the era. It is.
Oh yes,
we are in the time of pacifists, and we should be passing a fist.
Well, the thing with the Thunderdome idea is it would be a good idea to boost the economy. It would also give people something to look forward to while they're stuck in quarantine. For a lot of people, I understand, like, especially why a bunch of people are really taking umbrage with the fact of how long quarantine has lasted and why it still continues, because it's frustrating at this point, and we're entering into winter months. Like, obviously not every state is going to be affected by it, but, like, specifically our region of New York in general, of course, but our region specifically, we are going to get hit hard, and we're just going to get kicked right in the teeth.
Well, here's where I counteract your proposal. See, like the Thunderdome idea, where you put all the future racists and rapists in a Thunderdome and they fight for their freedom. Here's the thing, like, gladiators and stuff like that, they're almost like heroes. You root for them when they're fighting. And I don't think we want to root for rapists and, racists. I don't want to root for any racists.
Well, think about it this way. If you're, like, let's say you get 20 rapists or racists into a thing right there, and one of them has to earn their freedom by killing all the others. Like, I would say that would be punishment enough. Like, I mean, you could do a parole system where maybe he has to serve, like get therapy or be in a psychologist or a psychiatric facility for, like, minimum of 5 years after that. I don't know, something of that nature. But
when you take a rapist and force them into a killer to kill like 20 people to survive, I think it's going to take a lot more than 5 years of therapy. I think because if you think about it, a rapist or a molester of any sorts, usually they do that because of their childhood. So they're already pretty fucked up in the head, and then we're going to fuck them in the head even more. You might as well just kill them. Forget the Thunderdome. You might as well just, electric chair. I think the whole Thunderdome is not the best idea.
But the thing about it is, like, simply killing off racists and rapists, like, that's not going to solve anything. It's going to fix the short-term problem, but the long-term problem is that these same people pass down these traits that have gotten them where they are today. So the answer is not simply just to kill them off and assume things are going to go.
Then the Thunderdome's got to be, like, prepared in a different way, because if you have a rapist versus a racist, there's still going to be a winner, therefore you're still going to be rooting for someone in the end. So, how about one where everyone loses and we do, like, Saw style, you know, like, they have to, like in the movie Saw, they have to get out of shit.
That would be better,
I thought his ways of testing people were the best. People hate the Saw movies, but I think they're, like, low-key really smart. I mean, he's taking shitty people. I mean, of course, eventually in the storyline, someone was copying Saw, and that's a whole nother thing, because they didn't follow his rules. But
spoilers if you've not seen the franchise. He
generally goes after shitty people, and they have to, like, go through these painful things, as you know, to get their retribution.
Okay, yeah, that's a better idea,
I'd rather
honestly.
see them go through some Saw shit.
Yeah, honestly, because then at that point, then they would be able to earn the right to say that, like, they could actually be amongst society. If not, like, at least no longer be in prison.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, simply thinking that killing racists and rapists, like, yes, in the moment, it's going to feel good. Like, I mean, if something happened to someone I loved, regarding the nature of one of those crimes, like, yeah, I'm gonna want to curb stomp their throat out. But, like, looking at it from a more logical sense, that, like, what about their friends? What about their friends' children? What about their children? You know, like, the fact of the matter is these thoughts, these ideologies that these criminals have is one that's passed down generation to generation. So simply uprooting the stem itself, the weed itself, is not going to fix anything. Now you gotta really dig into the soil, or, like, hell, I'm no plant expert, mind you, but I would imagine, like, what's that method used to burn stuff?
Hell.
Yes, hell. So they're going to hell out of.
That's what I think you're not contemplating in all this stuff. It'll be okay. They'll ask Jesus for forgiveness before they die, and everything will be okay. Isn't that enough? Isn't that enough?
Saturn, you don't strike me as the kind of person that believes in Jesus in the first place.
Jesus might have been real. I don't think there was a God, but who knows? Jesus might have been based on something. I don't know. He was a magician.
Certainly not a white Eric Clapton looking motherfucker.
There's no white people in that area?
Speaking of which, you've actually been viewing the show Black Jesus on my Hulu there. How is that? I only saw the first episode and it was hilarious, but I just have not had time to actually look at it.
I don't know why Black Jesus ended, but I just watched it this year as of 2020, and it is one of the best things involving Jesus I've ever seen. It is fucking
or
hilarious.
A satire on Jesus, to be exact.
It's so funny. I die. Like, John Witherspoon and Charlie Murphy, rest in peace. I hope, I don't know if that's why they stopped the show, but they are kind of two prominent characters in the show so far. I only just started season 2. I'm addicted to it. I love it.
What is there, like 4 seasons?
I think 3.
Nah. Yeah, no, that's Adult Swim in a nutshell.
And now for one of DJ's famous freestyles. He'll work on it. By episode 20, he'll be freestyling.
No, I was freestyling there. It was just so high-pitched, only dogs could hear it.
Ah, shit.
Yep. Just play audio playback on this and have it at like 360 times the speed of light. Then you can be able to hear me. Or break the sound barrier. That's how science works, right? I don't know. I failed science. Anyways, yeah, that's usually what Adult Swim does. They have great ass shows, and then they either do some weird shit where they only have 4 seasons of it, or worse, they have 7 or 6, but they span years and years. Best examples for that latter one especially are Rick and Morty and the Venture Brothers.
Yeah, that's after we have listeners. I mean, we are in the North Country, and our podcast so far is about Thunderdoming the racists. So
and rapists. Don't leave the rapists out of it.
I mean, both. There goes most of the population in Plattsburgh.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, this pretty much sums up the channel in a nutshell. First, we go on the topic of, let's gather all the racists and rapists together, and let's see, have them earn their freedom through saw traps, and and then we move on to some of our more favorite fandoms, like the stuff created by Adult Swim. And I know recently, especially on the lines of visual media, movies in particular, especially movies pertaining to comic books, you're pretty excited.
Yes. Based on the previous comment, though, maybe not all of Plattsburgh. For the record, those listening, I know a lot of great people in Plattsburgh, but we should neutralize Wiggletown for good. I'm just saying it's full of pieces of shits. I don't know anybody who's coming from there that's a good person. A lot of racist shit online. Just saying. But
I mean, you're not wrong. There was divulging into that for a second. Yeah, there was. So I did not have much of a stake when the whole BLM movement started, like when it blew up this past year after George's death there. But there was a video I saw, like, I think this was when I finally moved back to Plattsburgh officially into the town itself. One of my dear good friends who I had known for a few years now, her boyfriend and her, they went fishing somewhere by the Wiggletown area there, and
they never came back.
No, they came back because there was a video posted by her and her boyfriend.
They were mutated.
No, you know exactly who. It was that dude that was pounding her fucking car, screaming obscenities to her, like racial slurs and all that. I showed you that video.
Yeah. Damn. That guy was nuts, chasing after her car. It was like a fucking horror film.
That
came from Wiggletown, folks.
Straight out of Wiggletown.
Yeah.
We don't appreciate your kind here.
Yeah. Word on the streets is that the Macon Motel is Wiggletown seepage into Plattsburgh. I don't know. Mutated a whole hotel.
Nah, actually, the villa in Keysville started that long before the Macon.
So speaking of villains, you're right. Absolutely, this is a great year for nerd stuff. I mean, like, what we've gotten in bad news, we have gotten sevenfold in good news from nerd properties. I mean, holy shit. Like, I was excited when I heard about Tobey Maguire, Multiverse of Madness, Sam Raimi. I mean, like, that blew my mind, but then, like, DC Fandom dropped, and then, like, they released all this shit, including the Batman trailer, which, it looks good.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson looks like he's going to be a badass Bruce Wayne.
But also, at the same time, it only looks as good as I expected. I expected it to look exactly how it looks, which is not a bad thing, but it's also good because they are keeping things from us. They kept a lot of the Riddler from us, and trailers need to say less.
I honestly could not tell if they were going to try to do another incarnation of the Joker or if it was the Riddler.
It was hard to tell at first. It was.
And then towards the end where they had the question marks there, I was like, okay.
We know now.
Now we know.
And then there might have been, like, some, like, you know, Easter eggs of, like, the Court of Owls, which I feel like this would be the perfect universe for the Court of Owls. Like, every Batman cinematic universe, the Joker is as bad as it gets. He's diabolical. But even in the Court of Owls, he's still a diabolical character in the universe. But I'm saying, like, it's time for, like, that. It's time for, like, the next step. The Joker's not the only villain Batman has, and he's not.
No,
he's not
exactly.
always the best villain. I think, you know, Killer Croc was maybe wasted in Suicide Squad. And,
without a shadow of a doubt.
He should have been in Batman.
Not just Killer Croc, like. Harvey Dent in Two-Face is an amazing villain in and of himself, and there's also the dynamic between Catwoman and of course, and finally they're doing something else with the Riddler. I think the Riddler is one of the most.
The Joker does one thing. He challenges Batman outside of his physical aspect. He challenges his morality, and he challenges his decision making in between choosing two things he has a moral judgment against or for, and he just. You know, just the fact that he challenges Batman on an intellectual level as well. He challenges Batman's brain, but like someone like Harvey Dent has two sides of them. You also feel bad for Harvey Dent because he was made that way. He's one of those Batman villains, depending on the story. Batman kind of half created him. You know what I mean?
You either die a hero or you see you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I could not even think of that. I actually, come to think of it, I don't think I've seen Dark Knight in years.
That's a goddamn sin. You should watch it once a year. I mean,
there's a ton of movies that I need to watch. I mean, I loved
Joaquin Phoenix, but let me tell you, Joaquin Phoenix is not the Joker. He is literally the true story of someone who has mental issues. Like I'm not as insane as the Joker in that movie, but I related to a lot of shit he was saying and feeling.
Well, here's the thing.
That Joker movie was different. Heath Ledger was like the last, like, I feel, comic book Joker.
But here's the thing, though. Like, the thing about Heath Ledger's Joker was he was kind of a mix between what Joaquin was going for and what Nicholson went for. Like, it was that comic book, like, zaniness, but with a touch of real-world madness and, of course, real-world weapons.
Yeah,
you know?
See, Joaquin Phoenix Joker is a Joker that we're supposed to relate to and sympathize with. The real Joker is a criminal who became even more of a criminal, but has really good points about society. The Joker is a reflection upon the craziness of society. That's what he's supposed to be. Joaquin's Joker is very different. We almost can't consider him the same Joker because he's a reflection of psychology, and the Joker is usually a reflection of sociology. You know what I mean?
It wasn't that just that. Like with what's the director's name there? Todd Phillips, I think.
Of the new Joker movie?
Yeah.
I actually don't know. Someone who was like ripping off Martin Scorsese, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, he the dude who made it was actually the director of The Hangover there, also.
Wow.
The very first one. So what he was going for with the direction of the latest Joker film was there was also Joaquin Phoenix's Joker also represented society on the middle or lower scale. Like the main one of the main messages of Joker was not just about mental illness. It's also a perfect view into how higher ups or people who would be considered of higher status will treat someone who many people would view as, or how society in general would view as lower to them. You know, and it's one of those things where, like, karma plays a big factor and empathizing and sympathizing, but also because of the methods that Joaquin's character executes in the film, it's something you can't condone, but you can absolutely understand, and that's what makes it so terrifying. Arguably more terrifying than Ledger's Joker.
Yes. And I felt like the most relatable quote in the movie is just like, because I myself, I have bad depression I fight with, I have anxiety I fight with, and this seems to be a symptom that's growing. That's why he's so relatable. But like the best quote in the movie was he wrote down on a piece of paper, I think it said something like, the thing about having mental illness is everybody expects you to act like you don't. And it's just like, oh man, that really hit me in the heart, like so bad. And I was like, man, this Joker is not Batman's Joker. This is different. This is very different.
Oh, without a doubt.
Although, like the movie, because I read The Killing Joke, like that's one of my favorite Joker comics, as is everybody's. But like that movie reflected The Killing Joke a lot, and at the same time, it also took elements of like real things that happened, like when the Joker shot. Spoiler warning: when the Joker shot those dudes in the subway train. Like that was an event that actually happened, I think, in New York City, but except it was like pretty sure it was like a white dude who shot black people, and it was like a highly controversial case. But
right,
but like they took like moments of realism and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like you said before, the reason that Joaquin's Joker.
I think everyone likes my squeaky chair.
Oh, I like it.
Does it give this podcast character every time I move around a lot?
It's giving me a chub, that's for sure.
On that note,
the thing about Joaquin's character also relating to it is, like, especially if you're someone who's used to being viewed as like inferior because you don't conform to society's standards, and you choose to trailblaze your own path. Usually members who have conformed to society, which there are plenty in scale of number, is they are going to view that with not just contempt, but with pure animosity, because it's human nature to to act on fear, especially when there is something or someone or some kind of event that completely shakes up the daily routine, the status quo, whatever you like to call it. Straight up, humans will be afraid of anything that really disrupts the norm, even if it's positive.
Yes. In fact, when the Joker came out, the certain people were, higher ups, politicians, they were worried that this might inspire rising up against the government or some shit.
Fast forward a year later.
After watching the Joker movie, it's just like, oh, okay, we see what you were really scared of. This movie is relatable because it's a reflection of where most middle class and lower class people are at right now, and of course they'd be scared that it would inspire an uprising. And I mean, like, good, they should be scared, and we should start an uprising. And these are the positives of 2020. People talk about how 2020 is like the worst year ever, but like, how about this BLM movement in general? This is fucking incredible. I mean, like, it's sad that it took this fucking long to have such a movement and for people to like get over the color of skin, but like, it's happening, and this is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And like, this is one of the best parts of 2020. Like, I mean, of course the news will skew it and make it look like there's a bunch of looters out there, and there are looters, but they're not the protesters, you know what I mean? It's like, there's always someone trying to counteract what's good. But I think this is a good year for like standing up against what's wrong, and I'm like so proud of the millennials and Generation Z. I mean, the future looks promising.
Well, the thing is, 2020 and the 2020s in general, these are the years to see clear. Flat out, these...
2020 vision. Although Kanye hashtagged that, now it's like garbage. But
and there goes the rest of the podcast. Anyways, the thing is, these next 10 years especially, they are going to feature philosophies, ideals, and moral conundrums never before seen before, or that have been seen before, but finally there's an even playing ground between both sides of the equation. Mm-hmm. And the big thing also is we're going to see changes. We've already seen changes in iconic imagery, the way we handle legal processing, the way we handle social issues, the way, and especially in 2020, many people have been trying to find out ways to properly stimulate the economy. And also, this past year has been stellar for arts.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely stellar.
I've never been employed as an artist as much as I have been this quarantine.
I know that for a fact, yeah.
Just constant portraiture. People like just want me to draw. I'm in the middle of moving. For those who didn't know, I'm moving to Athens, New York. But I'll still be on this podcast as much as I can.
Praise the Lord! No, actually, I'm going to cry when he leaves. I'm not going to lie.
But, yeah. I don't know. People got a lot of money during quarantine. I definitely saved up some good dough. It's been good on me as an artist, and I'm just really behind because, like I said before, I'm moving, so I'm having to turn down pictures that people want me to draw. I'm having to like be really slow on the ones I'm working on currently. It's very frustrating. And once I'm in this transition, but once
you have a lot of people asking for your help on certain subjects, like it just becomes literally mind-boggling.
Yeah, because on top of all these commissions, I have the Life on Saturn Productions things to do. Which let's do some plugins. I just had a music video come out. My wife Lydia and we made one for local rapper Jashir. And that video is called Isolation. You can check it out on our Life on Saturn Productions YouTube, our Instagram, our Facebook. We got another music video for that same rapper coming out. And another Life on Saturn member, Kyle Jersey, is working on an epic like vampire music video for our cypher group, The Mothership.
And what's the name of the song again?
The song coming, I think it's called Blackout. So it's going to be like vampire stuff. It's going to be good. We're almost done filming that. That's a big one. That we'll still be filming that way into September.
Yeah. There's the biggest problem with the stuff that we do, especially when we're asking people that have their own lives, like kids, wives, different responsibilities outside of major relationships, this is where you find people that where you find schedules collide, and
Absolutely.
That's the real.
Things have been rough. Things, getting everyone together for this music video. This music video is probably like the most people we've ever used for a video in general, including our skits and short films.
But at the same time, the sneak bits that I've seen from it, it's probably also one of the best music videos you and Lid have done so far.
Oh, you're talking about the CJ one?
Not the CJ one, although
because Kyle's doing the vampire one all by himself. I mean,
oh, really?
He's directing us as we hold the camera,
Okay,
Yeah.
That part was confusing. So he's the one who's editing all of it.
Yep. And
okay.
And that one, have you seen the one scene he did with Andrew G. Revenue?
Yes, yeah. So that was him.
Yeah, that was all Kyle. He's killing it. It's a good music video.
Stellar with that. Like that fight scene between Andrew and Bullfrog, absolutely one of the best works I've seen in a while.
Yeah, that was a good day of filming, and we'll have a blooper reel too. There's some accidents that happen on set, but we're all good.
I know the stories on some of these.
So stay tuned. This is a good music video coming.
It's gonna be epic.
Also, shortly after I move, I'll be working on a few things. Like I released a stop motion short film called Above Cold Eden. For those who haven't seen it, please check it out. I'll be working on Below Cold Eden, which I have all the vocals done for it already. I just need to edit it together. Just haven't had the time because I'm moving. So after that, I'll be working on three albums actually. My solo album with my wife, a whole album where my wife and I feature other artists. So that's 2 albums there. And Kyle, who's directing the vampire music video, him and I actually have an album coming out. I just need to do the artwork, and we just need to make the CD. All the music's done.
All right, and one more thing. Actually, going off of that subject right there, also regarding future content for LOS, most recently, Saturn and we recorded a sort of a reaction video to a new horror film that recently got released directly to video this past year.
Unfortunately, we'll show on the video portion of this podcast on YouTube. Probably.
Unfortunately, the quote-unquote reaction video takes place while filming the back of my head. So we will have to animate our expressions via artwork from Saturn, right? Is that how you were going to handle that?
No. I'll explain that to you later, though.
Okay. But
edit this part out.
Edit this part out. All right, let's.
It won't be edited.
I don't even know how to edit. This is the first time I've ever even tested this damn thing. But going off that, opinions. Let's get into the real review of the movie. Opinions?
The Color Out of Space, Nicolas Cage. The movie left me just shook. I was good. It had some imagery that I couldn't go to sleep right away. It was pretty fucked up, but at the same time, one of the best Nicolas Cage movies in a while. Because we all know the last 10, 15 years he's been bullshitting with some terrible B films, but every once in a while he comes out with that one film like Mandy or Color Out of Space. And it's just oh my god, now this is a beautiful art piece. H.P. Lovecraft, it's a really good movie.
So, if I may. So the context of Color Out of Space, basically...
Spoiler warnings.
Yes, spoiler warnings. Seriously, this is where you want to stop the podcast if you have not stopped listening already. Anyways, so Color Out of Space is based off of the short story The Color Out of Space by H.P. Lovecraft, and in the movie there is an alpaca farmer, or just
an alpacan farmer.
An alpacan farmer. It's a llama farmer, folks. Let's call it what it is. He's herding up llamas. Anyways, the llama herder is played by Nicolas Cage. He has his family, one wife, one daughter who's into Wiccan stuff, like any white girl nowadays, and he has a little boy and an older teenage son. So one day out of the clear blue, a meteor magically lands right in their front lawn.
While Nick Cage is trying to have sex with his wife, and they haven't had sex in so long, a meteor's like, fuck you, you goddamn llama herder, and just lands and fucks up their life.
No, the funny thing about it is, like, the meteor does pretty much say fuck you. So, like, essentially, whatever material the meteor is made of, it is pretty much living, and it starts to decay, literally decay, all the vegetation and forestry around the surrounding house that Nicolas Cage and his family live in. And along the way, we see images of colors that cannot be comprehended by the human mind, ergo that's where the film gets its name from. And of course, there is some cosmic horror elements, including extreme body horror. There are parts where there are limbs together and like absolute monstrosities. And of course, there is a chance not many of the main characters will make it, if at all. And if they do, chances are they're not going to have a healthy mental state, as per any H.P. Lovecraft work.
I feel like people listening are still thinking, ew, Nick Cage, I'm still not gonna watch this.
Oh, yes. I forgot the real spoiler of this whole review. So in this movie, Nicolas Cage both actually acts, like he gives an actual performance, and he goes full Nick Cage in a cosmic horror film.
And you know what? Even in his worst movies, like Nick Cage is like the best part of the movie, and he somehow keeps you watching.
Well, like I won't lie, I love Nick Cage, but honestly, the breakout star was the daughter, in my opinion, the teenage daughter. She gave probably the best. She was the best performance of the whole film, in my opinion.
She was definitely weird in that movie. Oh.
And also a surprise appearance by Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong.
He was probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, no, he is like he's Chong in a horror film. Like like people think he's burnt out, and then oh wait, he's right about aliens and shit like that. Oh my god,
it had to have been one of his last films because he was in that movie. Then he was in Kevin Smith's Chainsaw and the Bob reboot.
I believe so, yeah.
And and then who knows? I think that might have been it.
Yeah, I mean, what a hell of a way to go. Like, when was the last time you saw him in anything other than comedy related? You know, let alone horror.
Well, him, Cheech and Chong, like became friends again after a lifelong feud or some shit like that. And then they went on tour. It was on Netflix for a while. Cheech and Chong, they were like old dudes doing stand-up / replicating scenes from the movie.
But I mean, they've been old dudes since probably the 80s, honestly.
Right.
But so overall for reviews, performance-wise, this was actually a well-acted film. There were parts with the dialogue that were a little cheesy, but that's to be expected when it comes to a direct to DVD sort of film, especially a horror film. And also a lot, especially when it comes to horror films, a lot of the aesthetic, a lot of the draw to those films is, the visuals. And
I'd give it like out of 5 stars. I'd give it definitely 3.5. Like because I feel like critics and how they rate movies are pretty stupid. I feel like Color Out of Space should have been a theater movie. It was really good.
Out of 10, I give it a solid 8.
And it's not good for a Nick Cage film. It's good because it's a great film, and the visuals are so yuck. They stick with you.
No, the body horror scenes in particular echo back to classic body horror films that include John Carpenter's The Thing, which is another Lovecraftian type horror film, and David Cronenberg's The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the movie. It's one that I would buy on Blu-ray. I would definitely buy it if I saw it.
The reason I give it a solid 8 as opposed to a 7, so full backstory, I read the short story The Color Out of Space before I came back to the North Country, and in my mind, like, I could picture how this would go in a film, but I also know that the problem with Lovecraftian films in particular, they are so hard to adapt to a visual medium because the way they're set up, they're primarily for literature and to be used in the imagination. The fact that this dude, the director there, had the balls to not only make such an old style of horror genre and execute it so well beyond any expectation, and then you have the star power of Nick Cage himself. No, this film fully an 8 out of 10 for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it was better than expected.
I really liked it, for sure. I recommend it.
And on that note, also, for future references, the director of that film is also going to be releasing 3 particular Lovecraftian stories in a trilogy. The first one, obviously, Color Out of Space, has been released. The next one that I understand is to be slated is the Dunwich Horror, another short story that I have personally read. And if this director can display even half the talent he put into the Color Out of Space, I have no doubt that the Dunwich Horror, when it eventually releases, is possibly going to be one of the best horror films of this current decade. That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. I can't wait to see this director's next piece. It was a good. It sticks with you. It's a linger movie. You know a movie's good if you think about it for days after, and it's one of those. It's kind of like how Endgame affected all of us. Like, I thought about that movie for a long time after. I was like, oh man, what a good fucking movie. Every once in a while, I'd drink my coffee, talk to somebody, think to myself, what a good fucking movie Endgame was. You know, just it stops you in the middle of your day sometimes, and you have to acknowledge it was a good movie. And Colored Space is one of those movies where I just, as soon as I watched it, I told everybody, I'm like, yo, this movie's fucked up. You got to see it. Yeah,
no, facts. It is absolutely mind-boggling and stellar, like Interstellar. Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah. So,
you think people are done hearing our dumb opinions, or?
Yeah, I think we are. We're around the 42-minute marker right now. Right. So on that subject, final thoughts. Saturn Lunarnova has been a huge part of the development of the art scene here in the North Country, specifically Plattsburgh, New York. And I'm honored to have him as the first guest of the podcast for his own channel. Now that I think about this, I'm kind of painting you as a narcissist. So
thank you.
Exactly. So on that note, flat out, we got nothing.
We got nothing.
And we thank you for letting us make your ears bleed.
Peace.
Peace out.
Good. It's a good first podcast. Hey, I'm Saturn Lunarnova. Be sure to follow Life on Saturn Productions on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook to see our short films and music videos. Peace.